Hey guys, and welcome to Gwent the Witcher card game. My name is Jaggerus, and today I've got a Monsters Fog deck for you. And this deck plays somewhat similarly to the Consume Monsters deck. So if you haven't seen my Hungry Monsters deck, I do recommend you check that out. And if you do like this deck, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, guys. So here we have the deck. You can see it's actually quite evenly spread out across the rows, which I feel quite skilled for. Anyway, this deck is all about foglets. So it's all about playing foglets and then duplicating them with nekker warriors, and then playing more foglets, basically. So I'll start with our gold cards, and then I'll talk about our silver cards, and then I'll talk about our bronze cards. Now, last video I did a budget and high value version of the deck. This deck I'm not going to do that for, simply because this deck isn't hugely expensive. We only have one legendary in it, and that's Caretaker, and you can very easily swap that out. If you happen to have Triss or Iv'e, for example, those will fit nicely in this deck. Ciri works, as does, just good old Geralt here, good old Geralt. So, that's the only legendary card. The rest are purples or less. If you don't happen to have the crones, the three witches work just similarly. So these are play all crone units from your deck. So if you play one crone, it takes the other two out of your deck. Similarly, there are, I think it's Eskel, Lambert, and someone else, Vesemir. And when you play one of those, it plays all three. The difference between the crones and the witches is the witches are neutral. So the witches probably fit in more decks. So, if you're not solely focused on monsters, it may be worth crafting Eskel, Lambert, and whatever his name is. They're in here somewhere. I'm going to show you them here. There we go. So Vesemir, Lambert, and Eskel. And you can see this, if you play one, it plays the other three. So these two have slightly less strength, or these three have slightly less strength, but they are neutral, so they fit in every deck. So if you don't want to craft your crones, that is your kind of alternative option for crafting. So yeah, gold cards, we have Caretaker. Caretaker is a very, very strong monsters card. And if you're, maining monsters, then I suggest crafting Caretaker as a legendary. You resurrect a non-gold, non-permadeath unit from the opposing graveyard, and often you can just pull something good. Anything silver and non-permadeath you can just kind of take from them, and often that can be quite effective, especially with discard brand being so common. Often you see Axeman or Queensguard where stealing one of those does harm their strategy. We have Yennefer. I put Yennefer in more or less all of my decks right now. She is such a strong neutral card, and definitely worth the craft. This is like the purple card I recommend you craft. Like, if you're going to craft one purple card, this one. At the start of your turn, remove one strength from the strongest opposing non-gold unit. So then we have a couple here that are for this kind of foglet strategy. We have Woodland Spirit, immune to weather, spawn 3 rabid wolves. They're 1 strength units that go in the front row. And Fog. So we can use this to gain 7 strength, well actually 10 strength because of the rabid wolves, and apply Fog. So this is one of our ways of getting Fog on the board in order to pull out our foglets. So just a really nice card, especially if you're running weather decks. This is a good one to have. Then we have Ard. Move 3 non-gold units on the opposite row, 1 row back. Remove 1 strength from all moved units. So you can use this to move 3 units from the front row back into the fog is effectively the idea for what you're going to do here. Now, if you had more weather, like if you had rain, for example, you could move them into the rain. Fortunately, as Dagon, you can always spawn rain. So if you want to move something from the middle back, then you can do that. This card can be replaced with Iv'e, but this one is obviously a cheaper alternative, and it does have a lot of potential in these kind of decks. What else have we got? Next we have, that's all of our gold cards, our silver cards. So like I say, I've got the 3 crones, Weavus, Wispus, and Brewis. And effectively, in your mulligan, you want to try and find one of these, and then you can play it and play all 3. And that's, 22 strength from 1 card, so it's a really nice win condition. And it also thins your decks, which will help you find your nekker warriors in order to duplicate your foglets. So if you don't have these, Vesemir, Eskel, and Lambert work. And if you don't have those, you could always run something like a Dimeritium Bomb, a prize-winning cow, and a Manticore, for example. That would work quite nicely instead of those 3. And on top of that, we have Old Spear Tip Asleep. Old Spear Tip, add 1 strength to all other non-gold units on the row. Whenever there are 3 or more units on the opposite row, at the end of the turn, he transforms into Awake. And Awake has 8 strength and removes 2 strength from all units on the opposite row. So you can kind of use this to buff your foglets, and then it'll transform. I mean, he does get debuffed by the fog, but it's an option to buff your foglets or to debuff the opposing row. And for a silver card, a blue silver card, I think it's very strong. So definitely worth adding to any monster deck. Then we have Commander's Horn. I mean, if we're going to spawn a lot of foglets and play a lot of foglets, we also want to buff a lot of foglets. So that's why we have that. And then we have Scorch just to remove any problematic cards. You could replace this with Dimeritium Bomb. It really just depends on what you're going up against in the ladder and what you feel is more valuable. Okay, then on to bronze cards. We have 1 Ancient Foglet. He's in here to bring the deck up to 25 cards, and also because of his synergy with fog strategies. So right. Then we have our 3 foglets. which are immune to weather, and they will play from your deck or graveyard whenever fog is spawned. Right? So then we've got lots of fog options for that. Then we have Nekker Warriors. Create on the bottom of your deck 2 base copies of a bronze unit on your side of the battlefield. So if you play 1 Foglet, you can then start duplicating it up with the Nekker Warriors. And if you manage to play all 3 Nekker Warriors, you're going to gain 6 more Foglets in the deck for a total of 9 Foglets. And then once you have all of these Foglets out, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to buff them. And you're going to buff them with Madroim, we have 1 of. And this is basically to protect against Scorch or Igni. It adds... If you use it, you can create a mutagen, which adds 3 base strength, or a spores, which removes 3 base strength. So we're going to make a mutagen and then use that to buff one of our Foglets. And then once that Foglet is buffed and has a little bit more strength, it means that, and it's base strength, it means that when you summon all of your Foglets, you'll have 1 strong one, which is then, you know, it protects the rest because then they don't all have the same amount of strength, which means Scorch won't hit them all, Igni won't hit them all, and it's a good idea. We also have Thunderbolt Potion, add 4 strength to all instances of a non-gold unit on your side, so we can use that to buff all of our Foglets by 4. We have a couple Lacerates for, you know, basically removal. I think Lacerates are probably a bit stronger than Alzur's Thunder these days, just because often rows do get quite stacked. And we have 2 Fog cards. And that's about it. You know, you can always add a 3rd Thunderbolt Potion should you feel like you need it, and maybe 1 fewer Madroim or Lacerate, but I feel like this is nice draw consistency, and with the Crones as a second, like a win condition for 1 round, I feel like this deck is in a pretty nice place. Anyway, we'll jump into a game with the deck, and I'll showcase the Foglet Frenzy deck.
Humans have no place in Broccolon.
Okay, so we're up against Ethne with our Foglet deck. In terms of the mulligan here, you want to try and find lots of Nekker Warriors, so you don't need that many Foglets. We don't need 2 Madroims, we only needed 1. We've got a Lacerate. We've got a Crone, which is nice, because, you know, we do want to play our Crone. So Commander's Horn, Thunderbolt Potion. This is all in all pretty nice in terms of the mulligan. It would be nice to find some more Nekker Warriors, though, but if we don't, that's ultimately okay. I think for now we'll mulligan one of these, the Madroim, and we got a Lacerate. Double Lacerate is a little bit frustrating, but not usually bad against Ethne, because Ethne usually runs a deck which is all about buffing a single row. So Dagon is actually a good option there as well. The other problem we have here, actually, is we don't have very much fog. So we're going to have trouble in playing our Foglets if we can't find any more fog.
Got business for me?
So this deck, the opponent, like I said, she often runs a very strong front row and then just keeps buffing it. Dagon I like over Gheals in this deck because Dagon, it's a guaranteed fog, which means if you draw as badly as I have here, it's totally okay. So the guaranteed fog is really, really nice. The other thing is, like, I'm not too worried about the Hawker Smuggler because if it gets too buffed, I can just Scorch it. Although, actually, if we play the Crones, I'm just trying to think. No, that'll buff it by 3. I want them to be more or less on the same amount of strength so I can kill them both. But I don't think it's going to happen. And I actually think that Scorching the Mahakam is worth more. But then the Mahakam we can actually kill with Lacerate, so potentially, actually, we should play the Crone, which will buff up the Hawker Smuggler. Then we can Scorch the Hawker Smuggler, and then that's 10 points out of Scorch, which is pretty nice. And then this is always Laceratable, so that's good. So we'll just Scorch for now. And we have nothing else to play this round. We're not going to be looking to do fog strategies till later on. We got a lot of strength out with the Crones, and we thinned our deck, which is really good. I would imagine she's going to replay the middle one, because that would make the most sense. I think it's risky having one super buffed unit. Especially as we can actually move them back into fog, should we wish to. I think for now, I'm just going to play a Lacerate. It's worth 9 points, which is pretty good. And we also have the option of killing his dwarf if she keeps going with this.
Have strength, my
which she is going to do. The alternative is we could play fog now. And basically we could play fog now and then move these guys back into the fog. But I think we're going to just Lacerate again. I want her to pass, basically. And I think removing her cards will maybe encourage her to pass. And then on the next row, we can kill them with fog.
Let's enjoy the weather while we still can.
The thing is, she's got easy access to rallies. We're going to pass here. We've got card advantage, and if she wants to win the round, she has to play more cards. And we can always fog Ard on the next round, so then we have options to win. So I'm actually fairly comfortable just passing here. It would have been good to play Yennefer this round because of how many cards were played, but normally the first round doesn't go quite as heavy as this. So I'm guessing she's going to replay her Commando into her Elven Mercenary into a special card. The problem with my deck here is that, you know, the fact that they can draw special cards and they have cards which draw special cards from the grave make this a little bit hard for me because of how many first lights she's used. But then on the flip side, I think it's still good. The thing is, she wants lots of strong cards that will get kept on the board. This is her tactic here because these 3 get kept on the board. So she's thinking, I know I will win with these cards. And that's her strategy. What we have to do is just hope that she doesn't clear our fog as soon as we try and odd her. And then just get rid of them. That is going to be our tactic for this game. And then once we have our foglets out, play lots and lots of fog. And there's a fog, so that's nice. We can play this and then odd. And then we have a, you know, 1 in the pocket should we need it for the final round as a win condition. I maybe should have played Yennefer first, but ultimately I'm not too worried about that because I do want to remove these units. That's it. Keep buffing him. Good job. So we're gonna ard the. You get to pick 3. We're gonna ard this one, and actually this one because I don't want her to replay it and try and find a first light. So if we can kill her options for doing that, then that is a smart play. And you can see here we're in a really nice position. We can then play Nekker Warrior and duplicate our foglets. So then on the final round, we get loads of foglets. You know, we have these in hand as well, which is nice. And she's just chosen to pass. So we're going to pass as well. There's no point playing the Nekker Warrior just to get the foglets. I don't think it's worth it. I think having the extra card is worth a lot more. Especially as, you know, if they have a first light and they have the last card, they do just remove all of your foglets. Which is kind of frustrating. But I think all in all, we're in a nice position here. We'll open with Yennefer. And we do have some points should we, you know, not be able to play all of our foglets. We do have our Nekker Warriors, and we can always just buff those. As it is, though, she surrendered as soon as she saw the Yennefer. And yeah, I think that was a good play. I think the fact that we had control over her dwarfs with Ard, you know, made that really good. And you can see the power there of Ard versus Igni because we managed to hit multiple targets. So we'll send a GG, we'll jump into another game, and I'll try and show you guys this foglet deck some more.
Up and at 'em, lazy mingers! You'll sleep when you're dead.
So you can see here we're going up against Harold the Cripple. This is really annoying because he can just kill all of your foglets with that. But provided you have enough fog cards, it's not really the end of the world. We don't have any golden cards either, which is unfortunate. We're going to mulligan 1 foglet because we only need 1. There's a golden card. We're going to mulligan 1 crone because we only need 1. And we're going to mulligan 1 crone because we only need 1. We did get 1 fog. But you can kind of see why we play Dagon now, just because of how much fog is necessary in this deck. And if you feel like that's not enough, you could always, you know, substitute out the Ancient Foglet for more fog. We'll open with the Foglet, and then we'll start duplicating him. The risk here is that they remove it, because they know that you want to do that, but as it is, he's played the bear. The bear is annoying, but it's not the end of the world. We could potentially Scorch here and remove 4 from him and 4 from us, but, you know, if we do that, I feel like we're better waiting for more targets. So we'll just duplicate our Foglet some more. He doesn't have his Axeman out. We do have Scorch in hand, so when he does start playing Axeman, you know, this is alright. Oh, this is beautiful. Now we're going to Scorch him for 12. I'll just get rid of all of those cards. And 12 for a Scorch is nice. And I feel like people hold on to it a lot to wait till he plays something stronger. And I mean, he could play Axeman and start buffing them, and that would be problematic. And maybe the Scorch was worth holding for that. But all in all, like, I think this is fine. I expect he intends to pass here because, you know, he's only got 6 strength. We can more or less guarantee it by playing the Brewis. But actually what I might do for now is play the Foglet and then just hope that we don't draw a Crone. Because if he intends to pass, like... I'd rather not play so much strength this round. And often Ciri is a signal of him intending to pass so that he has the 2-card advantage going into the next turn. And there it is. And that's why we held on to the Crone. Because so long as we don't, out of these 19 cards, draw another Crone, you know, we've held on to 22 strength. And we still keep the 5 strength Foglet for the next turn. So this is what you need to think. Whenever you see a Ciri, think, why is your opponent playing Ciri? You know? And I think we did a good job there. And we didn't draw a Crone either, which is nice. So we'll pop out our Crones. And then, like, now we have 27 strength, so it's not a bad time to pass. It means that, you know, he's got to play a bunch of cards if he wants to win. And then we have a lot of options going into the next round. Which is nice. We could play a Fog here and our Nekker Warrior. That's, you know, another option that we have.
Martin Freyr is patient, but
potentially.
She brooks no insult.
He's probably going to resurrect the bear, but the bear isn't that useful if he doesn't end up with a lot of cards. So, if we play the Fog now, we can duplicate the Foglet. But then that's kind of it, more or less. And then we have less fog for the next round. I think we just pass. You know, he's got to get 16 points to win. And we are nicely ahead. He'll get 3, 6, 9, 11 from Harold. So Harold's not going to be enough for him to catch us. And this does help us deal with the card difference a little bit, because he has to then play cards, and he also has to go first on the next turn. Which is important, because if he has First Light and he plays it as his last card, there is literally nothing we can do about it. Tremors is still not enough for him. We're still ahead of him by 10 points. And you can see he's actually used a lot of damage there, which is really good for us because, you know, those are very strong counters to our Foglet strategy. I mean, it does mean that we keep a 2-strength crone, which is not ideal, but all in all, I think is ultimately fine because, you know, now we have the same number of cards and he has to go first. And finding another fog here is always lovely. So we will we'll open with fog, I think.
The gods won't be pleased.
He got fairly fortunate with that. I mean, on the plus side, he didn't take a Foglet, but, you know, of the cards that were in there, that is one of the stronger ones he could have picked. Fortunately, we can always Ard this guy, so I'm not too worried about the 7 there. And if he plays more cards in the front row, that's really good for us. And we have a lot more, you know, fog in hand. So here he's trying to remove our Foglets, but it's ultimately not a big deal because we have more fog. So we'll just bring them all back out.
Bow before modern Freya.
So he's going to resurrect maybe the bear, which is annoying, don't get me wrong, but we can always Ard it. I think actually we're just going to straight Ard that row, although is it worth waiting to see what he pulls out? I think it's maybe worth waiting to see what he plays. And duplicating our Foglets for now. And then we can always Ard it on the next row. Because you can hit up to 3 targets, right? So we may as well hope that he puts a 3rd target in the front row. Which unfortunately he didn't do. But never mind. It's all good. We'll just Ard now. I just don't want to deal with the Savage Bear or with Uldark. So that's 13 strength removed. And 7 gained for us. So that's a 20 strength swing. And we can always lacerate this row as well. He's going to bring back the bear.
Before modern Freya.
Here comes the bear, you guys. What's in his graveyard? I mean, we could actually steal his Axeman. If we lacerate the Axeman, we can actually then take it from him. And I'm just wondering how much more Resurrect he has. Although, as it is, like, the Axeman is in fog, so it's not going to get super strong. So I think we'll just lacerate the back row for now. I just want to see what he plays.
Bow before modern Freya.
Yeah, see Decoy. So I expected him to have a lot of kind of Resurrect, so maybe we should have taken this guy out, but it is what it is. So let's have a quick look what's in the graveyard. We can actually resurrect Ulderic, and then with Ulderic take something else from his graveyard. I think we'll do that for now. So let's see what we get. We want this one. And then that gave us a pirate. I mean, it does mean that his Axeman is getting buffed here. But all in all, it's not been too problematic. If he has First Light, he has First Light, but we can always bring back our Foglets. But then they will all get shot by the bear. Oh well, let's just buff them for now and see what happens. Which will buff the Axeman. As it is, though, we win anyway. We don't need to play Weather, but we can just play Rain or something just to clear his row. And these are the kind of things you want to be aware of in that matchup. Well, I think we played the second round really, really well there. And in doing that and forcing out some of his removal, it meant that he didn't have as many options to deal with the fog. And if they don't have options to deal with the fog, that does often win you the game, as you saw there. But yeah, that's kind of the Foglet deck. It's maybe not so good in the early ranks just because so many people run First Light. But later on, it definitely can take people by surprise. And it's also kind of a fun deck to play. You know, I quite like, you know, having the Foglet. Some people think it's like mindless and stuff, but I think it's quite fun. But yeah, that's the deck. If you like the deck, do hit that thumbs up button and let me know in the comments below what you would change, what you thought about it, or if I massively misplayed or anything. Then yeah, let me know what you think. And if you want to catch me live streaming Gwent, I have a Twitch, twitch.tv/Jaggerus. And you can also find me on Twitter @Jaggerus if you want to find me for anything. I'll also have my Discord in the description below. So if you want to find me and chat about anything whatsoever, that's a good place to look. I've been Jaggerus, this has been Gwent, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic day, and thanks for watching. Bye!